Hello everyone. Companies have started to open their graduate and intern roles for applications, so I'm going to tell you how to ace the application process. First of all, I'm going to talk about research. Hopefully, you've already done some research to find out the companies that offer the roles that you're interested in, and you've used your career fairs to talk to employers. Have you checked about their culture and their values? Do they match yours? And what skills are they looking for? The first stage in the process is normally an online application, and the first part of this is generally a cover letter. A cover letter is really important, particularly when you're early in your career. It's your chance to explain why you're right for the role and why you want to work for the company. Show the company that you've looked at their culture and values. Show how they match yours. If your degree matches the role, make sure you mention what you're studying, including your modules if they align. A tip here is always tailor your covering letter for every company you apply to. Now you need to upload your CV. How should your CV look? Let's have a look at the layout. First of all, it might sound obvious, but you need your personal details. Your name, your location. You don't need your full address, just the town or city that you live in. Your email address, make sure it's professional, and your telephone number. Now let's look at your personal summary. This should be no longer than 2 to 4 sentences long and give an overview of your current situation. So for example, I've just graduated with a degree in X. Be positive and to the point. Try and avoid buzzwords like dynamic and team player. Everyone will be using these and you want to be different. Detail what it is you want to do. For example, I'm looking for a job as an X in the field of X. As I mentioned before, always tailor this for every single application that you make. Next are your qualifications. Your degree, your A-levels and some GCSEs. These need to go in reverse chronological order. So your degree first. Include your dates that you attended, the university you went to and the subjects that you studied. Just a note here, some companies have limits on how long ago you can have attended university for their graduate programs. Often it's 12 months since you graduated. It may be helpful to include the modules you studied if they relate directly to the skills the company is looking for. Now for your A-levels. Include the A-levels that you studied and the grades that you attained. For your GCSEs, companies are really only looking for the core subjects, so science, English and maths, but it's a good idea to include any others that are relevant to that role. For example, ICT if you're going for a technical role. If you have any further skills, such as programming languages or spoken languages, add them in an additional skills section. The next section is work experience. You may not have much work experience at this point, but whatever you have, include it, particularly if you've done an internship, whether that be a year's placement or a summer internship. Make sure you include what your role involved and any impact you had. For example, if you worked in procurement, did you save the company money? Did you work on any projects outside of your main role? What was it and who was it with? What problem did you solve? If you didn't do an internship but worked whilst you're at university, include it, even if you think it seems irrelevant. It will show transferable skills and will set you apart from those with no work experience at all. So what's a good layout for your work experience section? Start with the company name and the dates that you were there. Follow it with a sentence outlining the role that you performed. Use bullet points to summarise specific responsibilities you were given and show evidence to back up specific achievements that you talk about. The next section is interests and activities. This is a place to say a bit more about you as a person. You can mention any activity or hobby, but make sure it's appropriate. If you're a member of a club or a society, it adds more weight to your activity. I have one last tip for you here. Some application systems use software that automatically knock out applicants that don't have specific words or phrases in their CV. So look very carefully at the job description, especially at the skills required, and make sure they're listed in your CV and cover letter. This is why it's so important to tailor both your cover letter and your CV for every application. I know it takes longer and it's a pain, but it's worth it if it means you land your dream job. So, you got through the online application process. Now you'll be asked to submit a video interview. Generally, these are pre-recorded. You'll be presented with pre-recorded questions, either verbally or written on the screen. You'll then have to record your answers. They're often time limited. You generally don't get to re-record your answer, so make sure you're ready. It can feel strange sitting there talking to yourself, but try and relax and be yourself. Here are some things to consider when you're preparing for your video interview. Choose the location. Use a quiet location where you won't be disturbed. Make sure the room is tidy and use a simple background. Make sure the area is well lit. You don't want to look like you're sitting in a cave. Make sure your phone is in another room. You don't want it ringing in the middle of your interview. Dress appropriately. You may be at home, but it's still an interview, so no wearing your pyjamas. Wear the same as you'd wear if you were having a face-to-face interview. So you've got through the online application and the video interview. Now it's time for your telephone interview. Telephone interviews often have the same format as a face-to-face interview. Answer your phone in a confident, friendly way. As with any interview, avoid using slang or language that is too informal. Again, you want to be in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Have your notes and a glass of water nearby. Don't turn to your notes too often, but have them there in case you have a block. The water's there to stop a dry mouth if you're nervous. At the end of the interview, have a few questions ready to ask the interviewers. And don't forget to ask about next steps and when you'll hear from them again. Although this is a telephone interview and you're more likely to get away with wearing your pyjamas, I would still suggest you wear smart clothing. For one, it puts you in the right frame of mind for an interview, and secondly, you're prepared, just in case it turns out to be a video call. This is your first opportunity to speak to a real person. Try and build a rapport with them, but remember to be yourself. As always, don't forget to follow up. Send a thank you email to your interviewer. If you haven't heard anything after a week or so, don't be afraid to send another email to check on the progress. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. As always, if you have any comments, I welcome your feedback, and if there is anything else that you'd like me to talk about, please put your comments below.